Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at this little game right here, Nutz. It is a game put out by Blue Orange Games and designed by Bruno Faidutti. It is basically a set collection game, and you're trying to score the most points based upon the strongest tableau that you can build over the course of the game. Whoever has the most points is the winner. That should probably go without saying, but it has a lot of neat things going for it, I guess you could say. Let's get down to the table. I'll show you how it works, and then we'll come back with some final thoughts in just a few moments. So here I have set up for you a 3-player game of Nutz. And basically what this game is all about is collecting various kinds of nuts during the summer, gathering them in the winter phase, and then at the end of the number of rounds that is specified by the number of players that are in the game, whoever has the most points based on the kinds of food that they gathered during those 2 phases is the winner. Each player is going to start off with a hand of 5 cards, and they are going to be playing over the course of each round 3 of those cards into these different columns that are up here. At the end of the summer phase, which is where we're going to be playing cards down into these columns, the winter phase happens where the collection of those food resources are going to take place. So the person who is in first will be able to choose which column they want to take first, and then second and third, and so forth and so on. Now, as I said earlier, the rounds are split up into 2 phases, the summer phase and the winter phase. During the summer phase is where you're going to be stocking up on food, where you're going to be able to take your hand of food cards and choose one of them and play them face up in one of these columns. However, if you want to, you can choose to spend a moon token and play your card face down, but you will have to spend and get rid of your moon token if you want to. Now, there are different kinds of cards in the game. Let me just go ahead and take a few moments to show them to you. You do have cards that have negative effects. For example, this fox here, whoever gets this has to discard one of the cards from their tableau immediately. You also have other kinds of cards that say that if you have an odd number of, in this specific case, pine cones, you get 10 points at the end of the game. If you have an even number of pine cones, though, however, you will get 0 points. And then you also have some of these where if you have the most almonds, you're going to be able to get 12 points. Here, this card isn't worth any points, but it will award you 2 moon tokens if it's in the column that you take. Walnuts here are just straight up points, and so this card is worth 4 points for you at the end of the game, as well as this one if they're both in your tableau. And then you also have acorns here that are worth a number of points squared to the number that you have. So if you have 1, then it's worth 1, but 2, both of them are worth 2, and 3, all 3 of them are worth 3, and so forth and so on. Then you also have rotten food, which is going to be worth negative 5 points for you at the end of the game. Here's another walnut, except it's worth 5 points. And you also have other cards that will do something like, this one is very similar to the fox, but you make somebody else get rid of one of the cards out of their tableau. Then you also have some other kinds of nut cards that will give you 2 points at the end of the game, and they're also going to award you moon tokens and so forth and so on. So that's the general idea. You also have this thing which basically negates the entire column that you just took if this card is in it. Another part of the anatomy of the card is these dots down here, and that is simply indicative of how many of that kind of card is in the deck. So the first player will choose to play one of their cards here in a column. So let's just say they're going to be nice for right now. They're going to play this almonds right here, and then that'll be the end of their turn. Now, once everybody has played 3 cards, the summer phase is over. I do need to mention right here, though, is that there is a maximum number of cards that can be played in each column, and that number is 3. So, as I said earlier, going in turn order, they will be able to take a number of cards and put them into their tableau, and they're going to, number 1 here is going to choose this one because it's the safest bet. So we're going to go ahead and take this, and then the 2 walnut cards would be part of their tableau like this, and then this one would go in its own set as well. And then this also determines their player order for the next round. So this card will come up here to be replaced here, and then they will be going second next round. And then this person will be able to choose, and you know what? I think they're going to also choose to be safe as well, because they don't know what these two cards are, and that's kind of a bad thing. So the 3 will go up here. This walnut will go into their tableau. They do get a moon token, but they will be going last next round. So that is that. And then this player is going to take, well, goodness, this has the most cards. This is worth 12 points right now, so that's a good thing to go for. So they're going to go ahead and take this, flip this card over. Oh, it's a negative 5 points. Okay, so what's going to happen here is that they will have 12 points, yes, but they also have this negative 5 point. So what they're going to probably want to do is start looking for one of those fox cards to try to get rid of that bad boy right there. But what will happen now is that these cards that did not get taken are put in a discard pile, and this one comes over here. This joins here. This comes over here with them. I'm sorry. And now this one goes here, this comes down, and this comes down as well. And then one of the moon tokens will go here. And the moon phase, or rather the winter phase, is over now. All of the food has been collected. So each player will be given 3 new cards to bring their hand size back up to 5. And then we go into the next phase. And this is how the game is played in the number of rounds specified by how many players are in the game. But let's go over and show you what scoring looks like. And so this is how scoring is going to work. At the end of the last round, you're going to have 2 cards left in your hand, just like all of the other rounds. Those cards are simply revealed and added to your tableau. So if you have columns that they already go into, or if you start a new one, that's what will happen there. And then players add up their points based upon the cards that are in their tableau. For example, this one gets them 2. This column is going to get them 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 4 is 16 points. This column is going to get them 10, 18 points. This column, since they got a even number of pine cones, they couldn't find that third one. This is actually going to get them 0 points. And then this card that they weren't able to get rid of, this rotten nut over here, that's going to score them negative 5 points. So that would come out to a whopping 31 points for the game, and then whoever has the most points is the winner. All right, well, before we get into my final thoughts, I should say a couple of more things here. What I showed you was just the basic game with basic rules and nothing more than that. They do have a bountiful summer variation set of cards here that you can use, and they all have a little red border on them like that right there. So the game actually does say that for your first few games, don't even use these. Take them out of the box so you can learn how the game plays, and then you can add these in later on. Seasoned gamers probably would be able to grasp this right off the bat. And really, doesn't even have to be seasoned either. What these basically do is just give you a few extra rules that you need to worry about. For example, if this one is in your deck or your tableau, it negates all of the 5-point walnut cards that are in your tableau. Something like this. If you have this in your tableau, you cannot play cards face down, even if you do have the moon tokens to do that. But you do get to keep your moon tokens just in case you can get rid of that mushroom card. You also have this little mushroom card here, which basically says you can't win the game. So there's that. If you have that in your tableau at the end of the game, even if you have the most points, you can't win. So basically, you get the kind of the idea of what this does. It just kind of changes how the game plays ever so slightly, makes it a little bit more mean here and there, but that's what the Bountiful Summer variation does for it. It doesn't change how the game plays, just changes the feel of the game, I guess you could say. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into some of the pros of the game. First of all, the pro of the game is that, and I feel like a broken record sometime, but the artwork is really neat on this game. I like Cyril Bouquet, who did the artwork here. I think they did a great job. A lot of the, the characterizations of the, the squirrels that are going around here are pretty cool. I like how they're just kind of funny looking, very cartoony, but still very nice artwork. Even at night here, there's a lot of good stuff going on, and I like how it has some hands coming in and grabbing it. And actually, my sons were kind of like, "Well, what does that mean? What it has an arm coming in on some of them and not on." It's just artwork, man. Even the cat looks very sinister. So just the artwork here was just really neat. I love the rotten food one, and then of course the beaver, just chopping down trees. He's just going about his own business. But I really enjoyed the artwork on this one. That was my first pro. Second pro was that the gameplay is very simple, and it is actually kind of fun as well. There's not a whole lot of downtime because, quite frankly, on your turn, you're just playing a card down. Sometimes you might have to think a little bit more heavily about what card to play. Maybe you want to sweeten one column up a little bit more to encourage somebody else to take that column and stay away from the one that you're eyeing. So there's those kinds of decisions that have to be made during your turn, but they're very quick decisions, so it doesn't take a long time, so there's very little downtime. Another pro of the game for me is the fact that it does I think, appeal to a wide range of different age of players. I played this with my family, went with going all the way down with my son Aiden, who is going to be 8 this year. So he is kind of the lower end, I guess you could say. I mean, the box actually says 8, so he's definitely on the very cusp of being able to grok this. But I did play it with other gamer adults as well, and while they weren't enamored with it, they still did enjoy the game. And I think that's a cool thing, because when you have games that can appeal to that wide range, they're a lot more versatile to get to the table. So those are the pros. Some of the cons of the game is that, well, first of all, it can be a pretty mean game, especially if you use that Bountiful Summer variation that has some pretty nasty cards in it and some pretty nasty effects. But I don't want to overstate this, because I think it's while it's not really a take that game, I guess it could be considered, because you ultimately have to decide what cards you're going to take. If you're going last, you have very few options available to you. I do understand that. But at the same time, it's not really a take that kind of game, but it kind of has a tinge of it every once in a while, especially when you do get one of those nasty cards in your tableau and you're kind of having a hard time getting rid of it. But, again, I don't want to overstate this, because I don't think it's too mean of a game. Just realize that there is a little bit of meanness there, and if you have players in your group that aren't savvy on that kind of aspect of a game, you might want to shy away from it. And really, that's about it. I don't have any other cons about the game. I enjoyed myself playing it. I think it was fun in both kinds of situations that I found myself playing it, with my family and with other gamers. So that's a mark of a good game as far as I'm concerned. When it really kind of shines in both of those arenas, I think that's a moniker of a good game. It's not groundbreaking, don't get me wrong. So as far as a rating for the game is concerned, I think I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7 out of 10. And now, some of you might be saying, that seems a little bit high, but the reason being is because I like how it shines in both of those different arenas that I talked about earlier, in a family setting and in a gamer setting. While the gamers weren't absolutely stricken with it, I think that they still enjoyed it, and that's a good thing, because this is really a filler game. It only takes about 30 to 40 minutes to play at most, I think, probably closer to 30 minutes more often than not. So when a filler game in a gamer setting really kind of shines in a family setting, That's the mark of a good game for me. So a 7 out of 10 from me for Nutz from Bruno Faidutti and Blue Orange Games. As always, give it a try before you buy it if at all possible, but look at what other people say, get a whole bunch of different opinions there, and then make your own decision. But hey, thanks for joining me here today, and we'll see you guys and gals on the flip side.